Passion, talent, development. NCAA hockey offers all that, and its players graduate at a 93% rate. Trevor Zegras.
And they score on the lacrosse move!
Jake Gensel.
Gensel banks it towards the goalie. Score!
Cale Makar.
Cale Makar, he scores!
Stars on campus before the NHL stage. Whether you're a fan or a player, nothing compares to college hockey.
My goodness gracious me!
Visit collegehockeyinc.com and follow at College Hockey.
College Hockey Today is back from sick bay. I am Jayson Hajdu with College Hockey Inc. He is Brad Schlossman, Grand Forks Herald. Our apologies for not putting out a pre-Thanksgiving episode. I was waylaid pretty much the whole week. On the up and up now, but still not all the way there. Usually it's you, Schloss, that's usually get that fall cold that lasts the entire hockey season.
Yeah, the cough, once it comes, I'm going to St. Cloud this weekend. I feel like I've had a lot of it. It comes when UND goes to St. Cloud sometimes. I feel that
our hairy buffalo is not good for your health. Or what?
I don't think so. I think
the North Dakota video archives are littered with Dave Hackstall post-game scrums and Schloss barking like a trained seal in the background.
You remember?
Not even in the background, right on camera.
I tried to get out when we were in Michigan Tech. Remember, we're in that hallway and there's just nowhere for me to go.
We do. Nowhere for any of us to go. Let's talk some World Juniors. USA Hockey unveiled this week their preliminary roster for the World Juniors that will be in Minnesota this year. 20 current college hockey players. I think I counted 4 committed players, plus Trevor Connolly, who is in the AHL in the Vegas organization right now. These are the players Bob Motzko will have to choose from as a head coach. Did anything jump out to you as a surprise? I
think when you look at how they built the forward group, clearly it looked to me like they penciled in a couple lines as their top 6, and they went for more traditional bottom 6 guys who are going to add some physicality, in really play more of a 200-foot game than they took those guys over guys that might add a scoring punch. So you saw a guy like Colin Potter get left off from Arizona State. You saw Will Zellers and Max Swanson from North Dakota get left off. And you saw a guy like, Brendan McMorrow, who doesn't have quite the point total that these guys have. He's on the list. AJ Spellacy is on the list. They're just it seemed to me that Kamil Bednarik, I believe that USA Hockey in putting this together, that's what it seems to me that it was looking to really combine its top 6 with the bottom 6 that's going to play a different style than the top 6. So that was one thing that jumped out to me. The other thing that jumped out is we've got a couple of future college hockey players on this list. The Penticton V's, who a lot of college hockey fans know quite well from their time in the BCHL. They were one of the primary feeders. They've got 2 players who are going to be in college hockey but are not yet that made the camp. And AJ Rayaltz is one of the goaltenders. And Jacob Kwasnika, who's going to be going to Minnesota, he is on the list. I guess that might be another interesting part that, Bob Motzko had Mason Moe at camp, and he took Mason Moe to Minnesota this year and put Kwasnika in junior hockey, but he took Kwasnika to the World Juniors and not Mason Moe. 2 of the 3 goalies are guys who are future college hockey players. You don't usually see that. We mentioned AJ Rayaltz, Caleb Heil, who's going to be at North Dakota. He's playing for Madison in the USHL. Those 2 joined Nick Kempf. So, and I think when we look at this, Nick Kempf is the guy, right? Like that seems pretty obvious. That sometimes you go in there and you say, wow, they've got 3 goalies. Who's going to kind of end up being the guy? This one, it looks pretty obvious that Nick Kempf is going to be the guy for this team. So those are a few things. They have to cut one forward and two defensemen, I believe, before their final roster is named. So they're looking at several defensemen here. Chase Reed is a really young guy that they ended up bringing. He is going to be he's a Michigan State recruit. So that was interesting. And then I think Blake Fiddler is probably a name that fans are going to see in recruiting in the future. He plays for the Edmonton Oil Kings in the WHL. I would expect college teams to be after him for next season.
Connolly's inclusion jumped out at me. I mean, primarily because he's the only professional on the prelim roster. But what did you make of him being included? It's fair to say he had an underwhelming season at Providence after being taken 19th overall. And then I believe his season this year, I mean, he was a bit of a surprise signing. And then his season this year was delayed by injury, I believe. What were your thoughts on him being named?
Yeah, I mean, he's been in teams with this group before. So I don't know if I was shocked by it. But you're right. It was not easy for him last year. Vegas definitely likes to sign its prospects. There's no question about that. And he ended up jumping at that. And it will be a really interesting test for him. I think there will be a lot of eyeballs on what he's able to do at the World Juniors.
6 points in his first 6 AHL games this season for Trevor Connolly. Let's switch to some college hockey now. And before we go league by league, we were texting earlier this week some recent comments, not only by Roger McQueen from Providence, but a number of other former CHLers have been making the media rounds lately, now that we're a couple months into their respective first seasons of college hockey. Some interesting comments about how they view college hockey as a development step for them so far.
Yeah. One of the ones I really jumped out at me was, and this was in a story by Jashvina Shah, I believe, wrote it College Hockey News. And Roger McQueen, and it's the thing that I've always thought was that the first group of people are CHL players are coming for the development. The second wave are coming for the development plus the experience of college. I felt once some of these players come to college and they're texting back to their buddies in the CHL what the experience is like, everybody's going to want to experience college. And Roger McQueen kind of talked about that and said, he hadn't been in school in 2 years, he said. And he said, I love the aspect of coming back to school and being able to meet new people and not just being in the shell of not being able to see anyone other than the hockey guys. I like how you can make friends with non-sports people here. And that tells me Roger McQueen is taking in all of the things college has to offer. It's so much more than just hockey and just a sports league. And I think that's the mistake some people in Canada make when they look at college. It's not a hockey league. It is an academic institution, a giant institution that sponsors athletics. And there's a difference in that. You're around thousands of other kids your age. You're living with your buddies. It's just a different experience than you'll have at any other level of hockey, because nothing else is structured like this. Other like juniors, pros, out in Europe, in North America, they're all hockey teams. Nothing is structured where you have a student body that you're around, that, it's just this completely different thing. So I think some players who are coming are experiencing that right now. And I thought Roger McQueen articulated part of that really well.
Yeah, the focus since last November has been on the hockey specific development, right? The nutrition, the weight training, the practice time. Not much had been said that we have seen until this interview with Roger McQueen about the personal life development, the social development aspect of it.
Yes.
Speaking for College Hockey Inc., this predates my arrival here. Whenever we speak to a youth team or parents, advisors, we sell it as a 3-pronged development model. Obviously the hockey, obviously the academics, but our third piece is always you're going to experience both of those in an environment unlike anything else in hockey on the planet. So it's good to see new players recognizing that already. Good on Roger McQueen for soaking that all in, and I'm sure the other guys too. You've talked to players like Cole Reshney and Keaton Verhoff at North Dakota. I'm sure they're experiencing the same thing. Something it does require more attention, I think, in all of this discourse.
And I think one thing that they realize too is, you know, they're going to go on and play in the NHL for a while, and they're, you know, chances are they're going to bounce around to different teams, right? But they're out. These college groups that they always kind of have this home back at wherever they go to school, and their group of friends. And I see it here this fall. You know, you walk over to campus, and all of a sudden, you know, Nick Schmaltz and Brock Besser are over there, and Matt Green is there, and guys who have won Stanley Cups, but they're still coming back to their school, and they'll always kind of have this place. And I think that's something that Cole Reshney and Keaton Verhoff have recognized, that you know, wherever their hockey journey takes them, this is going to be a landing spot for them for the rest of their lives. And I think that's pretty unique as well.
Yeah, they'll be old men golfing together with their old teammates. And this is something you don't need a lot of, like, any school can offer this. You don't need to be a financial powerhouse to provide this for players. Yeah.
And we see it all the time, you know, with no matter where guys go. You know, what was it, just a couple weeks ago, Matt Reed was back at Bemidji State, and you know, there are guys who have last year, I remember maybe the All-Star break. What did they do last year? Was it not? I can't remember what the NHL always does, but all of a sudden, you know, Macklin Celebrini's back at Boston in the Beam Pot, right? Like
during the coronations. Yeah.
So it was that's just kind of the tie that these guys have, and you know, they'll move on. They'll, like you said, they'll become they'll retire, or maybe they'll still be in the NHL. And when UND North Dakota, for example, has a coaching change, I'm getting texts from all those old guys. Who's going to be the next coach? Who's going to be, like, they're all still dialed into what's happening back here. And I think that's kind of a neat aspect. And it just was cool to see that Roger McQueen recognized the opportunity beyond hockey that college provides, and he articulated that really well.
Again, that's a College Hockey News article. Shout out Josh Fina-Shaw. Everyone check that out. We'll include that in the show notes too when this publishes. Okay, let's talk on the ice. What did we learn last? I want to mention 2 weeks ago, you said that you know nothing about goaltending. Yeah. This week, you have learned something about goaltending.
Well, you need two of them. You need multiple goaltenders. I think that's something that's really jumped out, and it's for multiple reasons. Number one, it is because we know nothing about goalies, right? You have no idea. Sometimes we think we know who's going to be the goalie, and maybe like it's played out as expected with like Alex Tracy in Mankato and Trey Augustine at Michigan State and Josh Kotai at Augustana and some of those guys. But other places, sometimes it just is not who you'd expect. Number two, sometimes there's injuries. And you need a guy that can come in and win games. And, you know, Lawton Zacher has been one of the best goalies, if not the best goalie in the country for Northeastern. All of a sudden he's out, and Northeastern has to go to Quentin Sigurdsson. They go and play a 2-game series against BU, regulation win, overtime loss, and then regulation win against Brown with Sigurdsson in. Very important. And then Wisconsin, they had played Daniel Hauser all year. They go to Michigan State on the road, and all of a sudden it's Eli Pulver in net. And Eli Pulver, in his first weekend playing for the Badgers, sweeps Michigan State on the road. Michael Hrabel goes down for UMass. He gets hurt. UMass has to go and go with Jackson Irving. And he obviously had that phenomenal performance, stopping 48 of 49 against Providence last week. So, there were a lot of games I flipped on where it wasn't the guy who you expected to be in net, but that guy ended up winning a game for some of these teams. And I just think, even if you think you know who your guy is, like Hrabel, you just don't know when an injury is going to come or how long it's going to be. You need to have another guy who can go in and win a game. And right now, teams who have a guy who can go in and win a game are benefiting from that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about even more of these as the show goes on. I know we are. So those are a few of them, though.
Formula worked okay for Western Michigan last year.
Yes, they just rotated the whole year.
Yep.
And, we're surely going to talk when we get to the ECAC about Dartmouth. And they might be doing the same thing this year.
At some point, you have to make a decision late in the year. And that's where the coaches earn their money. It was certainly played perfectly by Pat Frischweiler a season ago. Let's go around the country here. We'll start in the independents. The Alaska Nanooks, they win a trophy at the Adirondack Winter Invitational in Lake Placid. A couple of nice wins over St. Lawrence and Clarkson. Lassie Letty just keeps on keeping on between the pipes. And Michael Satera seems to have found a home after some stops. 2 other previous stops in college hockey. He's already scored a career high. Let's see. I think he has 7 goals in 13 games. His previous high was 6 a couple years ago in Merrimack. He was in Providence 2 years before that. But Alaska's getting some contributions up and down the roster.
They are. I really think it starts in net. And Lassie Letty has played really well. We've seen this in the past from him as well. He's 926 save percentage. He allowed 2 goals the entire weekend up at the tournament, added a shutout in there, and he's really solidified the number 1 position. And I don't know if that was going to be the case coming in, because as good as he's been in the past, Calvin Vachon, he had some success in junior. He was a pretty good goaltender. That was an excellent recruit. I can't remember what his relation to Rogie is. I believe he is related to Rogie Vachon, the old Kings goalie. But Calvin came in for a lot of success in junior, and I thought he could really push. But Lassie Letty has really established himself as the go-to guy there in that.
I was going to, if you had filibustered, I was going to look that up, but it does escape my memory here.
It's like you would think it has to be grandfather, like that age, right?
Great grandfather, yeah. I'm not quick enough on the keyboard, but yeah, nice weekend for the Nanooks. Let's see. Let's take a look at their schedule here. I think they're off this week, but I might be wrong. Exhibition game against Grand Canyon. They'll hit the road the following week at Union. At Providence, at Cornell will be their first 3 weekends after the exhibition weekend. So tough test ahead for the Nanooks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I do think it is his Rogie's grandson. I'm looking it up now too as we speak. I probably should have done this beforehand, but
I'm sure it's in my media kit, and I have no idea.
Hall of Fame goaltender. Yeah, he was pretty good, but Lassie Letty, anyways, has been the guy for a Nanooks team that isn't exactly scoring a ton this year.
No,
but when you have 926 goaltending, you can get by without a lot of goals.
And Letty has popped before. If you look through his year by years, this is his third year in a row with a save percentage north of 920. So he's shown that ability and perhaps harnessing it into a full-time role this year.
Yes, for sure.
All right, in Atlantic hockey, we're going to talk Air Force a little bit. Just 2 losses since Halloween in 10 games in that stretch. They just finished a 4-game unbeaten road swing. They've only lost twice on the road all season.
Yeah.
Nice run for Air Force right now.
For sure. And The losses in there were Holy Cross, which is obviously one of the top teams in Atlantic. So Air Force has been able to get it done on the road. You mentioned a regulation win, a tie against Canisius, a sweep against Army, one of them in overtime, and then before the Holy Cross series, it was 2 wins at Sacred Heart. A pretty good team there. So Air Force getting it done on the road this season, and really the driver of the offense, Chris Hedden, just keeps doing it. Like, he's closing in on 100 career points from the back end, and we just don't see very many 100-point defensemen anymore in college hockey. And he's getting close. I believe he's at 88, if I'm right. And that's just pretty impressive. He has 7 goals already this season from the back end, 14 points. And he just, every year, he keeps backing up what he did the previous year. So impressive start for Chris Hedden on the back end for Air Force.
They're getting a lot of production back there. I was reading Dave Toller's game notes this morning, and he noted that 12 of their last 28 goals have come from the blue line. Covering the last 8 games. They also have a really nice line of sophomores, Will Dawson, Sam Stitz, and Nick Sajovic. They've been on the ice for half of the team's even strength goals this year. Sajovic he's at about 60% on faceoffs, and he leads Atlantic Hockey in scoring. So there's some interesting pieces here coming together for Air Force.
Yeah, Nolan Cunningham, another high scoring defenseman with 5 goals, 9 points in 16 games. Yeah, they have some high scoring from the D.
I want to talk a little bit about Bentley too before we move on.
Yeah,
they have a freshman goalie, Lucas Sweden. He stands 5'10", 151. That's what he's listed at. He is playing big right now for Bentley, and I wonder if they've uncovered another gem in goal.
Well, Bentley has just really had an interesting progression, should I say, this year in net. Started with Easton Hesse, the transfer. Then all of a sudden, a couple weeks in, they go to Nicholas Bevilacqua. And now all of a sudden, it's Lucas Sweden. So they've had 3 goalies play. And Bevilacqua and Sweden both have .930 or better save percentages right now. So when they get to the end of the season, who's going to be the guy, we'll see. But that's a team with good goaltending. And secondly, I just think they're a very difficult team to score against. And they've been that way with Andy Jones at the helm. Yep. And we'll see where Bentley goes from here the rest of the season. But yeah, right now, the goaltending has been really good. Bentley is not lost yet in Atlantic hockey play. 7-0-1. Bentley played an extremely difficult non-conference schedule. That's part of where the record is 8-5-1 and not, played at CC, at Denver, at UMass, played against New Hampshire last weekend. Tough schedule, but one of the contenders in Atlantic for sure.
Bentley hosts Niagara this weekend to close out the first half of their schedule. In Big Ten, we've got a major matchup this week. Top-ranked Michigan, third-ranked Michigan State, a home-and-home this week. Both are coming off non-conference sweeps. Michigan, a road sweep at Harvard, and the Spartans swept Colgate on home ice. Just a fantastic matchup.
Yeah, this should be a must-watch. I believe Friday night's game is on Big Ten Network for fans who want to catch that one. It starts at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. That should be a great matchup. I'm just fascinated to see. You got a little bit of a contrast. Michigan is just scoring an incredible number of goals. It is wild right now, the offense that the Wolverines are producing. Right now, first in the nation at 5.1 goals a game. There's only one team in the country that has more than 4. and that is Dartmouth, who has played only 8 games. So I've kind of been waiting for Michigan to level off a little bit, because you just can't keep this pace for a full season. But the Wolverines really don't show any signs of slowing down. And I think Will Horkoff is having an incredible year for Michigan. He's a guy who the Wolverines brought in mid-season last year, and 18 goals in 18 games. He's a big power forward, and he's on the World Junior team for the U.S. and should play a very important role on that team. And just what a season he is having for the Wolverines. And really, you look up and down the lineup, and a lot of guys are. And the one guy who I think was just a vital pickup in the offseason for Michigan was Ben Robertson on the back end. If you look at some of the defensemen, he just offers something that some of the other guys don't. He's just an older, veteran, reliable player. He was really good for Cornell, and now he goes to Michigan, and he's kind of anchored that decor. He's playing over 20 minutes a night, leads Michigan in minutes per night, and has just been a critical pickup for the Wolverines. They've been great. Now on the other flip side, you go and play a Michigan State team that can be very difficult to score against. And we know the goaltending that Michigan State has. When you look at goals against per game, Michigan State is 3rd in the country. The only teams better are Dartmouth and Cornell. So this is one of the best defensive teams in the country, and I think that's where this matchup is really interesting. What's going to happen? Are we going to see a shootout? Are we going to have Michigan's a low-scoring game here? Should be a wonderful matchup.
It's been 25 years since a team averaged north of 5 goals per game for an entire season. That was Quinnipiac in 99-2000. I think that was their first season of Division I, if I'm not mistaken. And we should note Denver was on a similar pace last year for roughly the same stretch. So this stuff does usually level off. But and they had 9 goals at Harvard last weekend. They have 10 guys with 5 or more goals already. That's absurd.
Yeah, they're getting scoring from a lot of spots in the lineup, and they're just there haven't been many teams that have been able to slow down Michigan. Wisconsin did for 1 game. Michigan scored 7 the first night on the Badgers. The second night it was a 6-1 Wisconsin win, held them to 1 goal. But I do feel that Michigan State can play that similar game to Wisconsin. Friday's game is in East Lansing. Saturday's is in Ann Arbor. I think the country will have their eyes on this series. This is Michigan's last series before the World Juniors, so their guys will be going all out. It is Michigan State's last series before World Juniors. So, I just think this is a matchup that everyone's looking forward to watching.
Will Horkoff's stat line is pretty hilarious. You mentioned the 18 goals in 18 games. He's got 7 on the power play. He had 3 last year. He's got 6 game winners already. He had 0 last year. For good measure, he's got 36 penalty minutes. Just we call that stuffing the score sheet.
Yeah, I thought when he came in last year, I was like, coming in mid-season is tough.
That's real
tough.
tough.
The number of times that move has succeeded versus failed, it leans toward the fail side pretty heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he produced right away as a young guy, it really surprised me. Especially, we always talk about how the big guys usually take longer, and just he really stepped in and was effective for Michigan right away last year. And he's been huge for them this year. The other guy, Josh Ernessy, he had a tough year last year, and we should mention him. He's really bounced back. But what did he have, like 1 goal last year? I can't remember.
Yeah, he had 1 goal in 36 games last year.
Yeah, he's got 9 and 18 this year. So he's another bigger guy that can play a different style a little bit than some of other Michigan's players. And
they're dangerous shorthanded, and he's one of those players. He's got 3 shorties already.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's I'm looking forward to that series this weekend.
Okay, as we turn the page to the CCHA, this will be an Evan Murr appreciation segment. It's a player you've talked about a lot in the past. I wonder if he's appreciated it enough outside the CCHA. He was CCHA Defenseman of the Year last year. He was their playoff tournament MVP. But outside of that league, I wonder if he's on the radar of enough people.
I don't think so. I do think fans of all teams in the CCHA are very aware of Evan Murr, just because he's been so good from right away. He came there as when he was a freshman. I remember the first couple games, I'm looking at their stat sheet and I'm like, who is this freshman D-man that's playing 23 minutes a night for them? Like, that's incredible. First couple games, and he's the anchor of the D-core. And then Minnesota State actually came up here to Grand Forks, and I got to see him play with my own eyes, and it was like, oh, okay, yep, like this guy is a stud. He's a smaller guy, but he's really smart, makes good decisions. He's dynamic. And Minnesota State just plays him a ton. He leads the Mavericks in minutes. He's got a point per game. He can run a power play, but he's just a really good all-around player. And he's the best player on that team, unless you obviously Alex Tracy and net is there, but best skater on that team. He's to answer your question, I don't think a lot of people around the country know the name Evan Murr. I do think CCHA fans are like, guys, he's been a stud for 3 seasons. But he probably does not get the recognition he deserves nationally.
This was his month of November. 9 games, 3 goals, 11 points. He was a +12 that led the entire country. He had 25 shots on goal. And as you mentioned, he averaged about 23 minutes per game, according to College Hockey News. The Mavs went 6-1-2 in the month. They've only lost twice in 16 games this year. It's same old in Mankato, it feels like. Yeah.
And this is a little bit how I thought this season would go for Minnesota State. I thought they would be impossible to score against, and they have been nearly impossible to score against. The Mavs lost a lot up front last year, and we saw all those guys leave up front. But what was overlooked, it's not just that Minnesota State has Alex Tracy back; they got their top 4D back, and those guys were just so hard to play against last year. And Evan Murr is one of them. Bergmanis, Campbell Sykos, Mason Wheeler. Some of these guys who are just really solid college hockey defensemen. They're not draft picks, so people don't necessarily know them from the draft and all these lists or anything, but they are just really, really good college hockey players, tough to play against, and that's been
a staple of that program for years now.
It has. They've been able to find really good, solid players, and they've been able to continue playing with really the same identity that they had under Mike Hastings and Todd Knott, which has been really impressive.
Yeah.
So obviously Luke Strand and Troy Ward and those guys have been able to continue the success recruiting. And that's just a really tough team to play against. And if you look at the MPI, which, hey, it's after Thanksgiving weekend, we can mention it, right?
You're allowed.
That going to Wisconsin and getting 2 ties, not losing either game, is going to be very helpful to Minnesota State in the MPI. And right now, the Mavericks are sitting at like 6. So they're in a pretty good spot right now. They're rolling. I think their only regulation loss the entire year was game 1 against Omaha. So right now we are looking at 15 games in a row in regulation without losing. And by the way, that regulation loss the Mavs had, they outshot Omaha 49-24, and they got Simon Latkozi'd in that game. So this is a really, really good team.
Speaking of NPI, let's talk about the team that currently sits at number 1 in those rankings. Dartmouth is the nation's last remaining unbeaten team. They beat up on Vermont on Friday and then blanked Merrimack in a 1-0 game on Saturday. They have the best team save percentage in the country. They're good on special teams, and things are clicking right now for Dartmouth.
Yeah, as we've mentioned before, they just keep going with this 2 goalie rotation. And right now it feels a little bit like Western Michigan last year. Both guys keep going out there and giving Reed Cashman no reason to change it. You know, they Emmett Croto has a 970 save percentage, Rowan Clark 921. They each play one night a weekend. They've each been great. There have only been out of the 8 games that Dartmouth has played, they've given up 2 goals twice. They've shut out one team, and all the others, Dartmouth's given up just 1 goal. So nobody's scoring on this team, and that's pretty impressive.
I was listening to the CHN Insiders podcast last night, and they had an interview with Reed Cashman, and he said he wanted to settle on 1 goaltender coming into the year, and both players have forced his hand so far. And then another play, we talked about Evan Murr from Minnesota State, a similar undersized defenseman who's just really good at everything is CJ Foley.
Yep, and he's been very much similar to Evan Murr. It's been a few years now that CJ Foley's been pretty dominant in that league. So those guys are kind of remind me of each other in the way that they're both extremely dominant players that their teams lean on quite a bit. And, Foley's playing 24 minutes a night for Dartmouth, and he is legit a star in that league. So, it'll be interesting to see where Dartmouth goes from here. They play Brown, Yale, Army, and New Hampshire before Christmas break. Then they come back and play a 2-game set against Arizona State. So we'll see where if Dartmouth can keep this up. Obviously, they're going to lose a game, but I mean, but if they can stay at the top of the MPI or in the top 15, there's a few ECAC teams that are sitting high up there right now, and you've got Dartmouth at number 1. You've got Quinnipiac at number 13. You've got Cornell at number 12. You've got Harvard at 15. So some pretty good starts by the ECAC in the MPI.
Let's talk Hockey East, which it's been a bit of a struggle league-wide this year in terms of non-conference. A team that's playing really well right now is Boston College, just 1 loss in November. James Hagens had his first college hat trick in their win over Notre Dame on Friday. Dean Letourneau is rolling right now, 8 points in his last 5 games. Let's dive into Boston College a little bit. Yeah,
obviously Letourneau had a tough freshman year, and he's really come alive this season. Jake Sondriel has been really good. The sophomore class has been pretty good for Boston College, but really I think a big part of this has been Luca Kluche and net. BC needed a goalie to emerge, and the team save percentage has not been very good. And it feels like it's stabilized a little bit. They played at Vermont, early in the month, and Kluche got a shutout there. BC goes and plays UMass, and Kluche got a shutout there. So there have been some good steps there. They're producing offensively too, which helps. But yeah, they just need to keep getting some of that consistent goaltending, because I do think this team is going to score. But they needed some things to stabilize defensively a little bit.
Home with UMass. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say home with UMass Lowell this weekend, and that'll do it for the first half for the Eagles.
Yeah, that should be a good matchup. UMass Lowell, Austin Elliott's in-conference play has been pretty exceptional in nets. So, but the one thing about Hockey East, they're going to be looking forward to Christmas break and another round of non-conference play because they need to bump that up.
Yep.
It's actually the opposite of last year. Remember, they had so many teams in the top 20, and then you got into conference play, and they're playing against these highly rated teams in the pairwise, and it just kept fueling how many contenders they had, and it allowed a team like UConn to make a surge at the in the second half of the year. And it's the same thing with like the Big Ten last year. They had such a good non-conference record that Penn State was not buried with that really bad start. And it allowed them to come back because they're constantly playing highly rated teams. Right now, Northeastern's the only team in the top 19 in the MPI.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Providence is sitting there at 20. BC's at 22. So some of these teams are certainly within striking distance. Also, it's so early that the MPI is a bit volatile. I think BU jumped like 10 spots with the win against Cornell. So like things can change. But one thing the Big Ten or the Hockey East really is going to want to do over Christmas break is get some more non-conference wins. Because right now it is looking like the opposite of last year for that league.
Speaking of non-conference wins, the Miami Redhawks over in the NCHC went 8-0 in non-conference. They won the Bellpot Trophy over in Belfast. They beat two rock-solid teams, RIT and Union. The Redhawks started the season hot, got swept at Western, and you wondered if the bubble would burst a little bit, but since then they won 3 of 4.
Yeah, quite a start for Miami. And while we're talking about the MPI, that's been huge for the NCHCs. In the past, Miami has really been a drag in that area, and they've really struggled. And, you look at Miami's win total, it's last year, Miami won 3. They've already more than tripled their win total from last year. Just quite the turnaround. And I think the win against Union is pretty eye-opening, I think. Just the fact that Union has been so good this year, and to go win that and be able to win the Friendship 4 is impressive. And then also John Lockman, who does a terrific blog on Miami hockey, and he was grinding it out through the 3-win season. So props to John Lockman for the coverage he has. Find him on Twitter if you haven't. He does just a great job covering the Redhawks. He has reported that Miami may be on the verge of getting Shika Gadziev eligible. He is the goaltender who we all assumed was going to be the guy this year. Shika Gadziev won the Clark Cup as Muskegon's goaltender. He apparently had to go back to Europe to take a high school equivalency test of some sort to try to get eligible, according to Lockman's reporting. And it sounds like he is getting very close. And he was really good last year for Muskegon. And I think when we go back and look at like Clark Cup champion goalies, it's a pretty impressive list. And you see a lot of guys who have been great in college. So he won it last year. The year before, the winner was Hampton Slakinski. The year before was Jacob Fowler. The year before was Alex Tracy. So we're naming like superstars in college hockey. And I think you get him eligible. Mateo Drobak's been quite good.
Been a workhorse.
It's not like they've had problems in net. He has a .902 save percentage, but I do think they would be very excited to get Shika Gadziev eligible and see what he could do. But yes, Miami 8-0 in non-conference play.
They're scoring goals this year.
Yes.
They're at about 4 per game. They're a top 5 offense. I think last year they were under 2 goals per game.
Yeah, I mean, the top 5 scorers are all guys who weren't on the roster last year. You know, that goes to show just the huge turnover this team has had. Mateo Giampa, they got out of the portal. Vladislav Lukashevich, they got out of the portal. Koka Delic, they recruited out of the CHL. Ilya Morozov, they recruited out of the USHL. And Maximilian Helgeson, we talked about him plenty on the podcast when he was at Alaska Anchorage. He was a really good player for the Seawolves, and he is their 5th leading scorer. So there are your top 5 scorers, all guys who are not on the roster. And I guess that will happen when you turn over, what do they have, 21 new guys on the roster? You just don't see that kind of turnover very often. Michael Quinn, by the way, defenseman. Interesting note, he was part of that Fargo team that won the Clark Cup. I believe his freshman year, he was something like, what was he, minus 20?
Minus 26.
Minus 26 last year. He is plus 10, leads the team. I found that fascinating turnaround for Michael Quinn. I was a really good player. He can run a power play, offensive defenseman, and it appears things are clicking for him. And the last guy to mention too, David Deputy missed the first few games for Miami. He's back. He's a terrific player. Points per game, he's right up there with some of their top guys.
Here's how December looks for Miami: at Denver, home to Colorado College, and then they'll open the GLI against Michigan Tech. So if you were hoping to learn more about the Redhawks, you're about to.
Not easy. Not easy road.
Good coffee there. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
That's a gauntlet of a schedule in December, but so far so good in Oxford, and it's great to see. Okay, let's look ahead before we sign off. We already mentioned the Michigan State matchups. There's a couple other top 20 showdowns that are highly compelling. We've got the border battle. We've got a Yale at Harvard game on Friday. Lots of good stuff on tap this weekend.
There is. I'm not sure. Obviously, Michigan State's at the top of the list. I think Minnesota Duluth at Western Michigan is going to be a really interesting series as well.
Mm-hmm.
We got the side story. Cole Spicer is now eligible at Western Michigan. He was the Minnesota Duluth transfer. He was academically ineligible at Duluth. He went back to the USHL to Dubuque and played there. Now he lands at Western. They were working on getting a waiver to get him eligible. They got that. He comes into the lineup. They played Omaha, and he scored his first weekend. And now he's back in the lineup for the Broncos, adding a little bit of punch. It feels like Western's kind of figured out life without one of the top players in college hockey, defenseman Univaisinen, who is expected to be out for the year. He's, right away when they lost him, they had some hiccups, and now all of a sudden Western's won 4 straight games. None of the games have, been overly close. I guess they're in that 1-goal game with Omaha until the end, but Western's looking pretty good. Metrics wise, Western looks really good. And obviously Duluth has been great this year with that big top line. So I'm intrigued by that one.
That'll be a blast. And we've got Denver, Miami. I mentioned New Hampshire at Maine. Quinnipiac at Union should be a good one. That's on Saturday. Hockey East, Northeastern UMass, also a good one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see who's in net for the Northeastern UMass. I saw, Hrabel came back in, and I saw there was Greg Carville kind of pointed the finger at himself and said he might have brought him back too early. He might not have been ready for to come back for that game. So a game where we thought we might see Lawton Zacher versus Michael Hrabel. Maybe we will see, Sigurdsson playing against Jackson Irving, and that goes back to our original point. It helps to have two goaltenders.
Nicely putting a bow on this episode. Well done. You're off to St. Cloud this week for North Dakota at St. Cloud State. What do you have in the hopper?
Well, hey, let's just keep the goalie theme going. Jan Spunar is now all of a sudden taking over at North Dakota, the freshman. I'm going to delve a little bit into some analytics on maybe why Jan Spunar has excelled for North Dakota, and why, not only why he's been good, but why the team has been really good in front of him. He has not lost yet. He is 6-0 to start his college career. So he was a guy who played in the WHL for Portland. Last year he went to Dubuque and played in the USHL. Now he's at North Dakota, and he has been very good. And he is playing, speaking of backup goalies, St. Cloud State. You think Jan Shostok's going to be the guy as the USHL goalie of the year and a superstar. Patrick Berzins, the main transfer, has been sensational for St. Cloud State. 939 save percentage, I believe it is, off the top of my head. So yeah, I guess that is the full theme for this week. Have two goalies. You don't know when you're going to need them. It helps things out, whether you have a goalie who has a hiccup or whether you have a goalie that has an injury. You need two guys is our theme of the week.
It's the theme of the week, and it's the theme for college hockey today. You need two guys. He's Brad Schlossman. I'm Jayson Hajdu. Schloss, safe travels to St. Cloud this week. Lots of great stuff for college hockey fans this weekend. Enjoy the hockey.